Hello and welcome back to the channel. Steve here, Knights of England. In today's video we're primarily going to focus on the electronics that Knights of England have produced in the past, what we have available today, where our development is heading, and a price list for what's available from us today. I'd just like to take a moment to update you also on the fiberglass products that Knights of England have offered in the past, and also some of the other products that we've offered in the past, like the scanning light bar, the scanner itself, there's the tow bar that we did, there's the Wonder bar, the gear shifter, and all these other nice to haves. Now, many of those products were made by third parties that were working with Knights of England, and over the years those third parties have either gone out of business for various reasons or they've chosen to retire. So I can tell you at this point there are no plans to reintroduce any of those products. With regards to fiberglass products, I myself used to make all of those. Now, I've had my own personal issues over the last 5 years, which have meant that I no longer actually have the facility to be able to produce the fiberglass parts, and I've had health concerns as well with my respiratory system and also my back. With that in mind, I've taken the decision to back away from doing any fiberglass products for Knights of England going forward. We do still hold the moulds and we may readdress that later on down the line, but I need to make it very clear to everyone that Knights of England are no longer producing any products apart from season 3 and 4 electronics. I would just like to say thank you to everyone who has supported Knights of England over the last 26 years. The people that I've met personally and the people that have bought the products second and third hand who always have nice things to say about them. Now, what I've done today is I've driven up to, for want of a better term, what we would call Flag, which is our headquarters, which is Neil Breakwell's home. And we're going to show you behind the scenes of what goes into the development that we do and how we go about it with the electronics. And then we'll talk a little bit about what we've got available, the development course that we're taking, how long we hope it'll take to get those new products to market, and the prices for what we currently have, which I know a lot of you have been waiting for. So without further ado, I'm going to head off inside and I'll introduce you to Neil.
Okay, hello, it's Neil Breakwell here, and I am the gentleman who's designed the electronics for Knights of England, going back many years now. And I'd like to give you a quick introduction or an overview of what we have available today, the products that we've designed to date, and where we're going, and give you a bit of a behind-the-scenes look as to the work that goes into it. The modules that we have at the moment are at what we call version 7, and all of the version 7 units comprise multiple parts, but the electronics comprise 2 parts. There's a main board, which you can see on this this compass board. We have a main board, and we also have a module which is common for all of the dash electronics. We call it the GCM, the generic control module, and that really helped us to get the to fast track the development of this series of units, because this is common throughout all of the dash electronics apart from the voice modulator. If I show you up here, we have another module which is the power board, DM5. You can see we have the same connector that we can plug the GCM into, and we obviously program that differently for the different modules, but essentially that is the construction of the modules at the moment. Now, these modules, all of them have certain things in common apart from the GCM, and it's something that we want to change for the next series of units, because at the moment all of the display electronics, all of the display components, which are by far the items which use the most current on these modules, they all take power through a 5-volt regulator. Now, there's no need to do that actually. We can drive the power for the display items straight from the 12-volt supply, and the advantage of that is it means that the power regulator, the 5-volt regulator, which is needed for the microprocessor on board here, can be pulling a lot less current, and that will make it stay a lot cooler and we can get rid of these heat sinks. Okay, we did mention a moment ago that we had the GCM and mainboard construction for everything except the voice modulator. So what did we used to do with the voice modulator? Well, the existing voice modulator display was a display board like this. I've got no display elements in it, but you can see that it was a display board with connectors on the back which would have mated into a separate control board that would have sat piggyback on this. I don't have any of those because they've all been into production a long time ago, so that's the only remaining example of a version 7 or part of a version 7 unit. Now the modules that we're going to now, we're calling them version 9 modules. You may wonder why we've gone from version 7 straight to version 9. Well, there's a reason behind that, which was because in the development of the voice modulator, the DM3, we did temporarily go through something that we called version 8. We only ever made one of these, and what version 8 was, it had these bi-colour LEDs, which would be red or yellow depending on which way we put current through them. Now these became obsolete, these components, so we were unfortunately unable to continue with the development of this version 8 voice modulator, which would have enabled a simple change between the red and yellow LEDs at the touch of a button. So we've proceeded with the development of the voice modulator using just either red or yellow. We can change between the kit and the car display pattern, but if you want to change from red to yellow LEDs, you will have to actually remove the LED arrays. So here we are on a version 9 of the voice modulator, and you can see it's extended slightly because it's a single board display now, and we have all the connectors on the back, and we're going for this arrangement for all of the modules now. So we're going to call everything version 9, even though there was no version 8s of the other modules. The old modules, the existing modules, we'll refer to as version 7, and the ones that we're developing now we'll refer to as version 9. We have changed the connector style slightly. You can probably see on the version 7 units that I showed a moment ago. Here's the DM1 version 7. We had a lot of screw terminals, most of which were never used, and you can see the same thing on there. So we're just going now with connectors that we use and simplifying the connector arrangement. The single board arrangement is also advantageous because electronic components and circuit board manufacture is increasing in price all the time. So we're trying to maintain the existing affordability of our range of products. These style of connectors are called JST connectors, and we also have a industry standard RS-232 communications port, which we can use either directly from a computer or via a Bluetooth module for controlling some of the functions of the new units. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you on the screen some of the work that goes into designing one of these boards. Although we have a single board now, these boards are actually 4 layers of tracking. So there's an upper layer, a lower layer, and there's 2 additional layers in between to maintain all of the connections between components that we need. So let's go ahead now and have a look at some of the schematics that we have, the circuit diagrams, if you like, of the modules, and we'll also take a look at how we design the circuit board layout. So we've got 2 things to do. We've actually got 3 things to do to develop this new series of units. We've got to draw out the electronic schematics, which we do just by designing them on a Microsoft Word package. And then we have a design package to design the circuit boards, and then we have to actually design the software as well. So to go from the existing version 7 modules to the version 9 modules, we've got to get the circuit boards made, and then there's still going to be a bit of work to do to translate the software from what it was in the version 7 modules to the new version of software in the version 9 modules. We have here the schematics for each of the version 9 modules, and let's just take a quick look at one of these. And what we can see on here is the microcontroller, which is this PIC chip, and this first page of the schematics that we have shows everything which is common between all of the dash modules, except for this little bit in the dotted line here, and this varies between modules as well. This represents the the inputs to each module. So we have everything else is common between all modules, and the next page, which isn't complete for this DM1, will represent the multiplexed displays. We have a very similar schematic for each module. So here's DM2, for example, which is also still in work. DM3, as you've seen, is complete now. The redesign of DM3 is complete. So you can see we have the first page showing all of the common I/O plus the bits that are custom for DM3, which is all the discrete inputs and the audio inputs from the microphone or speaker, and the drive for the dash-top indicators. And again, the logic on the second page represents the multiplex displays. So let's take a look now at not the schematics but the actual circuit board layouts. Let's take a look at DM3 first of all, which is the one that we've completed. We have the circuit board layout, which is actually 4 layers on here, and we can see the individual layers. That's not good for your eyesight if you zoom in too closely, but we can switch the individual layers on and off in this package by, say for example, if we view the layers, we can switch them all off, and then we can switch individual layers on, so we can see the board edge, for example. We can see the bottom copper layer, or we can see the top copper layer, or we can see intermediary copper layers such as inner layer number 1 or inner layer number 2. Actually, inner layer number 2, apart from these traces here, is just a ground plane, which allows us to connect things to the individual planes. And if we put all the layers on again, you can see we've got to design something like this. Now I know there are auto routing packages which would probably make this job a lot faster if we were doing a lot more designs, but because it would take quite a lot of time to learn how to use the auto routing package, we're going to continue for version 9 modules doing a manual layout as we do here. We can also see using this package what the board will look like in 3D. If we just wait for it for a few seconds. So now we can see, of course, what the board will look like. We can make sure that we've got everything as we expect it to be using this package. So that's DM3, which is already designed. What I'm doing right now is I'm working on the redesign next for the DM5, and here you can see that we're just in the process of starting this. So let's just take a look at what this board's going to look like. And you can see again it's going to be a single board now. There's going to be no plug-in GCM, with all the logic that would have been on the GCM, for example the microcontroller right there, the serial comms logic, and the logic for driving the multiplex displays is now going to be all on the same board. So quite a bit more work to go into that, and we're working on something similar for DM4. Let's just let that complete the rendering. Again, it's going to be the microcontroller, and all the control logic is going to be on the same board. So that gives you an idea of the work ahead before we have the version 9 modules available to complete the schematics for everything, and then translate those schematics into circuit board designs, and then build prototypes for the circuit boards, build them onto a test rig, make sure that everything works, and of course update the software to accommodate the changing configuration that we have for having the power, the display components driven direct from the supply. Okay, other things, when we've had circuit boards built, of course the first thing we have to do is to demonstrate or to prove to ourselves that the design works as intended, And so we'll build up a module, and then we'll have to build it into a test rig, which is just, in our case, just a panel with a simulation of all of the switches. Now this is the new version 9 voice modulator that we showed you a moment ago, and you can see that in addition to the board itself, which we've built up here, we have connected it to simulated inputs, and you can see that the indicators on here are representative of real-world functions. Some people might want these to just be reflective of the functions that were shown on the TV car, but if you want to, you can have the lettering to show what they're actually representing. For example, we have high beam lights, low beam lights, left and right turns, and so forth. So we have switches to simulate each of those functions, and we can prove the function of the module. We also have a little board there to represent the dash-top indicators. We don't at the moment make dash-top indicators, but this board will drive dash-top indicators, either high switched or low switched configuration. We also need to design, of course, overlays, and the overlays that we have made are of very high quality, but they're not produced by ourselves. They're produced by a company that we use in Germany, I believe, called Schaefer. And you can see that if you zoom in on these, we have threaded standoffs there which go straight through the circuit boards. This is an overlay for the switch pods. Here is a similar overlay produced also by Schaefer for the Compass board, the DM1 board. And you can see that we have little threaded studs in here which will directly screw the circuit boards into. If we have a quick look at some of the other overlays that we have had from earlier versions, here's one for the speedometer module, DM2, and you can see that this one also has functional lettering on it. Again, we can have these manufactured with the lettering as it was on the TV car, or custom lettering. There's a Perspex rear panel, and there's a Perspex rear panel for the speedometer as well. So you can see that in addition to the circuit boards, the electronics, we have a overlay available and a Perspex rear panel. So as we mentioned, that's where we are, what we have available at the moment, and where we're going with the version 9 units. Hopefully it's given you an idea of some of the work that has to go into getting these version 9 units ready. But we're confident that they will be pretty much the final standard that we'll be able to offer. We're recording?
We're recording.
Okay, good.
Neil, thank you ever so much for sharing a bit of the behind the scenes information with not only myself today, because I haven't seen all of that for a long time, but also with all of our viewers that have tuned in to watch this video as well. You went through the schematics and things just for my own benefit. So how do you go about actually creating those schematics in Word? Do you actually have to draw each line and make the components up? Because I've never seen those kind of things in the package.
Yeah, I certainly do. The component symbols that I've used throughout those schematics. To start with, yes, I've had to create every one just as a little design in Word, but obviously we'll reuse certain symbols over and over. So I just have like a library of symbols that I can pick and choose from.
So for the benefit of the guys and the ladies that are watching, how long does it take you to put a schematic like that together?
Well, to start with, a long time. Obviously, as we've seen, as I was trying to show earlier, there are certain commonalities between a lot of the designs that we have now. Like, for example, the control circuitry around the microcontroller is common throughout modules, so I can copy that section from one design to another. But yeah, I mean, in the early part of the process, I would have drawn it out manually and then tried to put it into a Word document to make it neater to print out from point of view or anything else. And also, of course, once it's there as a Word document, I can print it out on a printer and mark it up as I'm designing the layouts. As
Yeah.
I'm designing the actual
Yeah.
circuit board layouts, I can cross off the bits that I've done or mark
So,
them
so
in red.
you've got your schematic all made up, and then you've gone into that package to actually create the circuit board. And you said that you don't like to use the auto routing because, for whatever your reasons are, surely that's taking longer than just learning the package. Surely.
Possibly, but I do prefer a manual layout. It does give, I think, more control. I mean, to be honest, it is getting the complexity of those PCB printed circuit board layouts now is really beyond what most people would actually lay out manually.
I'd go cross-eyed.
Yes, yes. It's not some. I say it's not something to do late at night. But to give you an example, I mean the DM5, the power board that I'm working on at the moment. It's the weekend now. I spent until about 3 o'clock on Friday evening, Saturday morning, after coming back from work. So that was a good 7 or 8 hour session.
Till 3 in the morning.
Yeah, till 3 in the morning. I mean, this is
Dedication for you guys. Dedication.
This is KOE. This is Knights of England.
Yeah.
And I probably had another 6 or 7 hour session on it yesterday, and I reckon it's probably no more than 70% done, that layout.
And that's just for the DM5.
Yeah, but you can see it's a very labour intensive process because when you do something manually, you are dependent on manual checks at the end. So there's going to be, before we have circuit boards even made, even when I think the design is 100% complete, I'm going to probably print out each layer I like to print it out on a tracing paper so that you can put the layers on top of each other,
Yeah,
and then
makes
mark
sense.
off
Yeah.
mark off and pen each line. Not 100%. You can never be 100% sure that everything's going to work.
So
first
when you
time.
have these circuit boards committed and you're happy with it and you send them off to have them made, how long does it take for the circuit boards to come back to us?
There's a number of different services that are offered, but we generally choose a service which is about 2 weeks, I think, to make them. I mean, if you want to pay like 5 times as much, you can get it probably in a couple of days. But the balance.
That's not going to help the price for the people at home, though, is it?
So we don't. We try to give ourselves a good lead time.
And typically when you send these off and you get the boards back, are there any errors on the boards? Do we find them they're perfect every time when they come back, or
No, nothing's perfect every time, but it's always been. I think the problems or the issues that we've encountered in the past have never been something that couldn't be fixed with a small wire link, and then obviously in the next iteration of the design we'll correct that, and that's why why you see our circuit boards have a version number. Like for example, we said everything now is version 9, but if you look at the voice modulator board, you'll see a version 9.1 and a version 9.2.
Oh right, so it's those version that 0.1 or 0.2 is the new iteration with any corrections that you found after the first one was made.
What I would call the major version number 9 is like the functionality of it.
Gotcha.
But as we correct slight problems or improve things, we'll just put a minor version number.
Yeah,
in.
makes sense. So we've got the voice modulator done, and we know that's available now. So if anyone wants to order that, you can order that straight away. We've actually got, I think, 2 of those in stock, do we not?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got those ready to go if anyone wants a voice modulator. I noticed when we were going through all that stuff, and I know this, but we didn't talk about it in the video, the voice modulator itself doesn't have an overlay, does it?
No, that's right. The original voice display, I think the apertures for the side indicators were actually cut into the fabric of the dash, into the fiberglass of the dash. So no, we don't produce an overlay for that.
But what I will say to the guys and the girls at home is that there are overlays made by other manufacturers that do fit our electronics. So if you did want to go down the route of having one of those, we can certainly point you in the direction of where you can get one, if you'd rather do that instead of cutting out the dash, which is quite labour intensive. I know I've done that many times in the past, much to my detriment of sleep.
Actually, it might be worth mentioning at this point that the company that we use, which is in Germany, does have a sister company in North America. So for any viewers that are based in North America, there is a sister company out there. I think it's called Front Panel Designer or something like that.
Oh, so that's going to help people overseas from where we are.
Yeah.
Maybe through anywhere in the States, actually get them at a bit cheaper
Yeah.
price without the dreaded tax.
Oh, yes.
We won't go into any politics,
Yeah.
but yeah, the fact that if you're in Europe itself, you can get them from Germany, which is going to be probably cheaper. It's not
we
cheap
do have
for
an
us.
import tax for the UK, so
Yeah, so for people ordering the other modules 1, 2, 4, and 5, it's, if you're in Europe, it's probably better for them to actually order the overlays direct. And we can
Yes,
supply the
I think
designs
it
for that,
is,
can
yeah.
we?
We can, yeah. So you can even customize the design package is actually free. The company that makes these boards, they do provide the design package for free. So we have the designs which you can use in that package to customize them to your own preferences, your own specific lettering on them. It's quite
So-
straightforward to do.
We've got the DM3 available. We're redesigning 4 and 5, and I guess 1 and 2 is going to come after that. Where are we at with what we've got available now for people? Because we've had a lot of interest recently from people that might be watching this with wanting to purchase the electronics, which is great, and thank you very much for your interest. But where are we with what we've actually got in stock? Do we have an actual list of stock that we can put on the website later, maybe, to let them know? people know?
Yes, we can put together a list of modules. I don't think we have a full set of electronics. So we don't have a full set now, but we do have some individual modules which
Are of the older design, the version
that's right,
7.
the version
is that
7
right?
as we call
Yeah.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Because we missed version 8. That was the voice modulator, the bicolour LED version that we couldn't carry on
because the voice modulator had gone to version 9, we decided that the new version of everything, let's just call everything version 9.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
apart from the voice modulator, everything went from version 7 to version 9.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So, if you're interested in purchasing any of the electronics that you've seen in the recent videos, we will have some of those available. But we'd highly recommend holding off for the latest version 9 when they're done. Now, I work full time. You work full time. Knights of England was a hobby back in 1999. It became more of a business. I've taken a back seat, apart from talking to people on social media. You've taken a back seat with regards to putting full-time commitment into it because you work in the aerospace world now. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
So you are limited with the time that you've got.
That's right. Yeah, that's why we have to have the occasional session where I sit up until silly hours in the morning because those designs aren't something that you can have 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there. You've got to sit down with those designs and work it through, or at least work a large proportion of it through.
I remember many a time you've rang me up and you've gone, it's just taken me 3 hours just to get my head back to where I was when I stopped it, just to point yourself back in the right direction. So yeah, it makes sense. So I know you've had this weekend at home and you booked some time off work to try and get this 4 and 5 as close to production as possible. So that's that, and hopefully we'll be able to move on, and by the end of the year at the latest. I'm saying this for him because it's not me putting the hours in, but is it reasonable to say by the end of the year we'd like to have the full set back available with version 9? Is it reasonable?
I'd like to say so, yes. I mean, it all does depend on the amount of personal time that's available. I mean, for example, last week at very short notice I had to work overseas for a week, so that was last week.
Gone.
And I'm just catching up with other important issues that I need to just catch up with. But yeah, I'd like to.
Hang on a minute. You have all important issues outside of getting this done for our customers. You mean you go to work, you do this, and you sleep. What more do you need to do?
This is it,
Me too.
Pay
So,
bills.
To be fair and to be real, people, we hope you understand that we are just two guys. We work from home. Hey, do you remember Ned Felstead years ago?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. We've lost touch with the Felsteads. I think they were in Australia. I remember getting an email from them way back asking if they could visit our facility.
Yes.
And I said, yeah, you can visit the house anytime you like. Yeah. And Ned came over and we spent the day with him at the local castle. Right, actually, we did a lovely photo shoot and we kept in touch. Yeah. It was great, but it's interesting how people think we've got a great big facility, and in reality, we always work from home. It helped keep the costs down, isn't it? And the electronics are all built by hand, not by machine. I know there's many people out there, other vendors, which go to great expense, I'm sure, to actually get them mass produced with other companies where computers and things and robots are building them up. But you actually build everything yourself, don't you?
Yeah. So not only do we not use the auto routing on the package, but we don't use any kind of auto construction either. We build them manually, and of course we test each module manually as well to make sure that there's no issues.
Which is something we have noted other vendors haven't done in the past. Do you remember that guy that sent us, was it an odometer from another vendor? We won't mention who it was.
Yes,
but
I do remember that, yeah.
We had an odometer which was sent to us for test because it wasn't working. It had never worked. And it turned out the LEDs had been put in back to front. And it turned when the customer that sent it to us to correct the problem, and we did, mentioned it to the original manufacturer, they said, well, you must have blown the unit. So forgive me for not understanding how the customer blew the unit. The LEDs popped out, spun around, soldered themselves back in. Clearly it wasn't tested before it went out. So it's something we've always prided ourselves on, isn't it? The fact that we do make sure that everything works when it goes out. And it's we totally guarantee and warranty our stuff. We give a year's manufacturer's warranty on anything that we've produced always, but we're still looking and servicing units which are 10, 15 years old that have come back to us, and we'll still service them.
Yeah, I mean, we had a unit in just recently, didn't we? It's a very old, I think it was a version 4, a version 4 tachometer, which had some issues. And I did have to change a large number of the components on it, but yes, I mean, we looked at that and got it back up and running again.
So just for we did say we were going to address the pricing issue for them, because a lot of people are asking about prices. And we're going to put a PDF document or a screenshot of a PDF document you sent me, which has got the prices on the Facebook page for you guys to actually have a look at. Please ignore the stock values, because those stock values are no longer current, because we have sold some of those items, but the prices are current for what we've got available today. And we're going to do our very best to maintain those prices with the new version 9 stuff. We're trying to limit the actual production cost all the time, aren't we, to offset the cost of the buying in the components and the circuit boards, because those prices out of our control just keep rising. So we're doing our very best to keep the prices as low as we can, but if you want to guarantee those prices, obviously now is the time to order the bits that we do have. The version 7, is there anything that they don't do that the version 9 will do, or is it pretty much the same? It's just going to be a more robust design without the GCM as a separate board.
It's going to be a more robust design, and it's going to be probably the software is going to be a bit more common across the units. We're trying to improve the software as we've gone along. I don't know if it's worth mentioning. We don't want to go into too much detail, but the software that we put into these units effectively comprises 2 parts. There's a common part, which is the functional code, and there's also something which we call the trim, which just customizes the unit to an individual vehicle, for example, calibration.
So you can put the VIN number and the owner's details
you can
into
put
it
all
as well.
kinds of stuff like that, and so you can get you can even put your own name and so forth on. And then we have a little. At the moment, we've not built an app for it on a mobile phone, but you can actually use the standard Bluetooth package to interrogate the unit and read all that information back.
That's right, because I know in car we've actually got that Bluetooth unit fitted, and using the free app on the Apple software, and I think it's available on Android as well. We can actually communicate directly with the units, and we can switch between input mode, output test mode, show mode, normal running mode. We can do all those things directly from the mobile phone, can't we?
Yeah. In fact, we've not mentioned DM0.
Of course, yes, DM0, which is the Bluetooth module itself.
And it allows you to switch between modules easily. So instead of having to communicate individually through Bluetooth to each module, we designed all of our modules called DM something, DM1, DM2, DM3, DM4, DM5, and we developed this unit called DM0, which just is a single communications interface for the whole dash, which you can use to.
So effectively, that's a 3-wire hookup. If anyone didn't want any functionality with this, and they just want to put these in a car and have them all flash and light up, you can literally just put power and ground to every module with 1 wire linking between them all, and that will give you a serial comms connection, won't it? And you can do it through the Bluetooth module. So, oh, Neil, thank you ever so much for
pleasure.
accommodating me in your very limited amount of time.
Thanks all for the interest.
Thank you to the guys that have watched this video. Have a look at that PDF document that will be as a screenshot on the page if you want to have a look at the prices. For those that are waiting for shipping quotes and things, please bear in mind everything we've talked about, and I'll let you know what we've got available, which we can help you with.
And we'll try and keep you updated as we go along, but just in summary, then you can see that not only have we got to lay out the new circuit boards, but we've also got to update the software to. It should be very similar to the.
Just one final thought: the software. How do you write the software? Have you got a package that you use for that?
I don't have a package that I use for it. I have a package that I use to program it into the modules. The all of the modules use a microcontroller manufactured by Microchip, and I do write it all in a low-level code, which some of you of a certain age might remember something called assembler code. So it's all written in assembler code. So
wow.
Yeah.
You're a clever man. Thank you.
I think so.
Thank you for all that you do. So, guys, I hope that's given you a bit of background to what Knights of England was, where we've come from, what we're doing, and where we're heading towards with regards to the electronics.
So we're working hard, but it will take us a little bit longer to get everything ready. We are hoping to get it by the end of the year, but
And
it's going to be...
what I will say is, if you've enjoyed this kind of content where me and Neil are just sitting down having a general chat and just bringing you up to speed with things, let us know in the comments down below in the YouTube video, or if you're watching this on our Facebook page, let us know in those comments as well, because I've really enjoyed this, just sitting here having a coffee, having a chat.
Yeah, I enjoyed showing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for the interest.
So at that, for those that remember this, it's good night from him.
And it's good night from me. Good night.
Good night. Cheers.
Nice one.
Something. Thinking if I've got a coffee in my hand, if you've got a coffee in my hand, if we've both got a coffee in my hand, hold this hand, we can sit here and we can just have a conversation, not looking at that necessarily, or we can occasionally look up, look up to it or whatever if we think, yeah. So you guys that are watching, you might be interested. Anyway, Neil, so just asking you a question.
Yeah, first lesson in acting class: don't look at the camera.
Absolutely, unless you want to specifically address.
Unless you're on.
Specifically,
unless you're smoking.
Smoking a bandit, and he drives up to it behind the shed, and they kept it in, didn't they?
Yeah.
So